So there are two ways that you can build a character. You can build a character from without, and you can build a character from within. We're going to talk about the second one first. Building a character from within is, in essence, grounded in what Lee Strasberg called sense memory work. Okay, what is that? Well, according to Lee, pretty much everything you've ever experienced, everything you've done, everything you've seen, everything you've heard, everything you've smelled, is been recorded somewhere back there in your own personal hard drive, right? Human memory, which in many respects is kind of like the ultimate supercomputer. The main difference between what human memory is and, say, what this camera is recording right now is that the camera is a faithful recorder of events. The camera records things more faithfully than the human eye. This has a lot to do with just how emotional we are and the fact that we tend to look at the world through a lens, an emotional lens, which is highly subjective. So it's not 100% accurate. The good news is that whatever you are recording in your own personal supercomputer is highly detailed, and since we're actors and we're method actors and we're looking for supercharged emotion, you got it by the handful. Okay, so how do you get to the sense memory? Relatively simple. You work from detail, right? So we're talking about sense memory, we're talking about 5 senses, right? We're talking about smell, we're talking about taste, we're talking about sight, we're talking about hearing, we're talking about touch. You start with one of them, and you work for the sensory detail of that thing, or that place, or that person. And the thing is, when you start to work with sense memory, you start reaching for what Strasberg called remembered emotion, right? Things that happened to us once upon a time and have still left this imprinting. The fact of the matter is that human beings, people, we have an enormous capacity to remember. We also have an enormous capacity to forget. I feel that a lot of this has to do with programming, societal programming. We live in this mechanized society, really, right? This computerized society. Everything is all about time, right? And the expectations of it. Where can you go that you're not on camera anymore? Where can you go that you don't have instant communication, text messaging, emails, phone calls? Somebody wants you. In terms of raw human emotions, it sets up a little bit of a problem for us, in the sense that I feel that we grow up into adults and we're indoctrinated into society. We go to school and we get training and we get jobs and we go out into the world and do things. And somewhere along the line, our emotions become really inconvenient in the sense that nobody wants them. Nobody wants to deal with them. Nobody wants to hear about them. Nobody wants to see them. Nobody wants to feel them. I mean, how many times have you been in the work environment? We've all had this experience where people get emotional, or they start to cry, or they get angry, or just stuff starts flying out of them. And somebody says, you need to go to the ladies' room. You need to go to the men's room and pull yourself together. Go. Happens all the time. The fact of the matter is that our emotions are inconvenient in a lot of circumstances, and so we pick up this training, we pick up this programming that we need to be always sitting and squashing and suppressing, down, 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 down. And what does this lead to? I think this leads to a society of really emotionally repressed people. that doesn't help the actor, right? If you'd spend half your lifetime learning how to suppress your feelings and step and squash and push down and just be like all walled up, what do you do with that? Well, you have to unlearn. You have to unlearn all that programming. You have to unlearn how to simply open and give yourself permission to feel things. And so really, before you start learning about how to be an actor and Strasberg and Meisner and all that other stuff, you have to unlearn a lot of behavior, which is really day one in an acting class. Okay, so now we have all these amazing memories, right? Somewhere recorded back here in our super supercomputer, our personal hard drive, according to Stanislavski and Lee Strasberg. And those guys, how do you get that? How do you get them out? Well, you have to learn, again, how to trick memory, okay? Because it's there. Those memories are there. All that information is there, and it's there in full sensory detail. I promise you. It's not just like some dim, shady cartoon. Human memory is there in sight, it's there in sound, it's there in taste, it's there in smell, it's there in touch. It's just a matter of learning how to trick it into life. You know, it's a little like learning how to walk through the looking glass, right? You know, you just got to know the trick. And once you've done it once, you can do it again and again. Basically, you work with one sensory element. For a lot of actors, it's smell. Smell's a big one. I can be transported by certain smells to different places in time in my own memory. And here's the funny thing: when you start doing this work, you're going to start to investigate and experiment, and then things are going to happen. And you're going to all of a sudden have a sense of memory kind of out of nowhere. Certainly in the beginning, when you're just learning how to trigger them and how to access them and get at them. But once you've done it, you can do it. All right. For example, the first exercise we do in class is called working with a sensory object. Typically, I'll tell the actor, the student actor, to bring me something from childhood. Bring me something that's at least 7 years old. Bring me something that's 20 years old. Bring me something early. And that's what we work with. Now, I could take this particular item. Okay, this is something. This little cat. This was something that was in my grandmother's kitchen many years ago. And so it means something. I have a lot of memories. If I start working with this, I'm going to pull up a lot of stuff. And you'd be surprised. And in the beginning, again, it takes a little while. Because, you know, we've got all these blocks and holes and things. But if you do the work and you work for the details, you'll find it. But I would start out with sight. That's an obvious thing. And I'm going to look for the specific details of this object. And I'm just going to be open to whatever comes up. And things will come up. And then I'm going to examine touch, right? And does it have a smell? Everything has a smell. And sound, right? And, you know, even taste. And so I'm going to work with this object, and I'm going to take my time. And I'm not going to indicate it, I'm not going to show it, I'm not going to perform it, I'm not going to do any of that. It's just for me. It's just for me. And I'm going to, yeah, see his nose is scratched. He took a fall. And the two eyes are different colors. Yeah, see, things that I forgot about, but you know what? There's a lot. There's a lot in this little cat. And if I work with this little cat, I'm going to remember a lot about my grandmother. And I'm going to remember things about our kitchen and food that I ate there, and smells and sounds. And if I let myself, I'm going to be a little boy way back when and have access to all the things that I felt. So that's how that works.